I played 25 hours of Anno 1800. Here's what happened. I wanted to play Anno 1800 again, and since they have released a lot of DLCs since the last time I played it, now's a good time to see what the game has to offer. I decided to play as this guy, who is happily named Ollie Bagama, because once again I had no inspiration. I'm playing on pretty easy settings because I didn't want to struggle with the AI. Also, I like to have difficulty trying to make something efficient and figuring out logistics, rather than ensuring I have enough military power to defend myself. I think the game does not shine in its military aspect, which is why I choose pretty easy settings. My goal is to be able to use all of the features that have been added over the years to make a city more efficient, or make the game more challenging, so I can really push the game to its limits and see what we can do with everything unlocked. Anyways, let's get into the game. Starting in the first hour, I set up an island called Schoongraven, my main island in the old world. I then went on to claim 3 more islands just to ensure that I had different fertilities and mines to have everything I needed. I upgraded my town to unlock artisans so I could send an expedition to the New World. In hours 2 and 3, I discovered the New World, Mbessa, and Cape Chaluni. I also unlocked engineers on my island Schoongraven in the Old World. During hour 4, I made a trade route with pocket watches, buying them from the Old World and selling them in Mbessa. This allowed me to make a lot of money and not have to worry about being in the red too much. A lot of time in this video you will see me at minus 30k, which was fine because I was doing this trade route. I also started making concrete in Schoongraven and worked a bit on Crownfuls, which is the main island in Cape Chaluni. This island will also be the main island I will use throughout most of this game. During hour 5, I kept developing Crownfuls, but a massive pandemic slowed me down as I did not have the materials to build a hospital on Crownfuls yet. I still managed to unlock artisans on Crownfuls by hour 5. Hours 6 and 7 were spent fixing a mistake I had made in my bricks production. I did not have enough brick factories for the number of clay pits I had, which was a problem on all of my islands. After fixing the issue, I remodeled the main island in the New World called Manola. Then I made some adjustments to Crownfuls and unlocked engineers on this island. During the 8th hour, I provided electricity to Crownfuls and started moving all of my industries to a place where they would benefit from electricity. I also built a steam shipyard to be able to make more efficient merchant ships. This was to make my idea of getting rid of all the industries on Crownfuls and importing everything from another island viable. So I spent the next 2 hours working on this island that would feed resources to Crownfuls. The island's name is Wolsven. I slowly but surely moved all of my industry there. I built a power station there and put all of my industry next to it, just like I had done for Crownfuls. Then I started the commercial routes between my islands. During the 11th and 12th hour, I kept moving the industries to Wolsven to make a full transition, and I also set up some gold mines in the New World to make pocket watches for Crownfuls. Hour 13 is when I unlocked my first investor. I also kept building many ships so that I could have enough for all of my trade routes. I then started buying shares from my competitors' islands in order to make a bit more money. I spent hours 14 and 15 focusing on Manola, which is my main island in the New World. I unlocked artistas there and started building an airship hangar to make airships, which I will primarily use for between-region trade routes. I also got into war with Qing. Luckily, I had started making some ships to defend myself. I took an island from her pretty quickly, but it took me until hour 17 to completely destroy her. I ended up building a big enough warship fleet to roll through all of her islands, one by one, until Qing was completely out of the game. The 16th and 17th hour were spent finishing up the airship hangar on Manola. I then spent time fixing my trade routes, as some of them had been disrupted during the war. Luckily, my most important trade routes were not affected by the war, which allowed me to keep making money even through the war. After that, I built airship platforms on every island that could have one. I spent the next 2 hours building public moorings in the Old World so that all of my islands would share their workforce. I also expanded my rum and coffee operations in the New World to ensure I had enough for Crownfuls. I then built a dockland in Crownfuls. Figuring out how it works and how it could be used was a bit confusing. Still, I think that by the end of the 25 hours, I had figured out a way to make it useful, and this would, for example, avoid me having to do a trade route or two from the New World to Cape Trelawney. Let me know some of your tips on the docklands and how you guys use it efficiently. I might implement some of your ideas as I go on. After that, I started focusing on the Arctic sector. So far, I have only really touched on the Old World, the New World, and Cape Trelawney. I also barely touched Ambessa for the 25 hours I played, so I plan to keep this save going and focus on Ambessa in the future. I started doing expeditions regularly as well, which was not something that I was doing before. I built another dockland in Wolsven, my industry island in Cape Trelawney, since I figured that it would be as useful, if not more useful, to have a dockland there as well. Then I finished building my first airship, which was a nice milestone. On Wolsven, I built a fuel station to upgrade my farms, make them more efficient, and save space. So of course, during hours 20 through 22, I started moving my farms so that they were in the range of the fuel station, as well as built a tractor barn on each of them to make farms more efficient. I kept working in the Arctic and built mail offices in Crown Falls. I then started building an airship hangar in the Arctic. After that was done, I focused on building a blueprint for a massive city on Crown Falls. I also managed to settle my first iceberg plateau in the Arctic to set myself up for gas production. I spent hour 23 actively trying to buy an island in Cape Trelawney to get more coal, which I did, but then I realized that there was an easier way to get more coal with an island that I had acquired during the war with Qing. So this ended up being a waste of time and money, at least for now, though I'm sure I can find a use for this island later. I then built a gas mine in the Arctic, and at first I didn't really know where I would be able to use it, but I then realized that the New World could not use oil power, but could use gas, so it seemed like the logical choice. I spent the end of hour 23 and the rest of my 25-hour journey planning and building the massive city in Crown Falls. I built all of the houses in one swoop, which put a lot of pressure on me to deliver enough goods from Wolsven. I scrambled to build more industry in Wolsven to ensure nothing would collapse, but things were dire for a moment. I then realized that I would need a lot more oil in Crown Falls, so I built a couple of oil wells in Manola in the New World to transport that oil to Crown Falls. But this is where the 25-hour adventure has to stop for now. Let me give you a quick rundown of what is happening on every island so far. Starting with the Old World islands. We have Schoongraven, which was the first island I claimed. There's a decent sized city on the island with one single engineer house. I never got electricity on this island as I chose to focus more on Cape Trelawney and Crown Falls. Overall, this island is functional but unfinished. It served as a platform for the rest of the game, but no more than that for now. Notre Fond is a mostly barren island and serves as a resource feeder for Schoongraven. I built an airship platform on all of my islands, so I will not mention it for the rest of the islands unless that is the only thing on an island. Cartholm is the same story as Notre Fond. It is mostly barren and serves as a resource feeder for Schoongraven. Calm Prefecture is an island I acquired during the war. Again, it is mostly barren, but it serves as a coal resource for Wolsven, which is my industry island in Cape Trelawney. Moving on to the New World. We have Manola, which is the main island in the New World. It has a large city with a couple of artistas. It is also my main island to build airships. It does feed some resources to Crown Falls, such as rum and coffee, but other than that, it still works as its own island. I want to dabble more into haciendas here and unlock this island's true potential with gas power plants, to see what I can accomplish in the New World. I am also in the process of feeding oil to Crown Falls from Manola. Then we have Caldera de Fuego. This island has got a decent sized town, but is mainly a resource feeder for Manola. And now that I have built airship platforms, I could probably get rid of the town on this island and focus all of my citizens in Manola. It is also a gold ore feeder for Wolsven. I don't think the specific island was acquired during the war, but I know that some of the islands in the New World and Ambessa were acquired during the war. I just don't really remember which ones. Curipinas is a completely barren island apart from an airship platform. La Orchella is a complete resource feeder for Manola. Bahia Azul is completely barren apart from an airship platform once again. And Ovino is an island of a small town which serves primarily as a resource feeder for Manola and as a gold ore feeder for Wolsven. Cape Trelawney now. Crown Falls is the main island for Cape Trelawney, and this game's main island, and it will likely stay that way until the end. It's got a massive city with a World's Fair, which for now is still in blueprint mode, but will soon be making its appearance. There are still a few remnants of the previous city built here, but it will be destroyed soon. This island has no industries apart from mines, quarries, and oil fields. This is all to try and keep the island's attractiveness as high as possible. I also built a big dockland, which for now does not look very good, but is very useful, especially when it comes to speeding up trade routes. Moving on to Wolsven, which is my industry island here in Cape Trelawney. So all of the industry that would normally be needed to fulfill the needs of Crown Falls is here, and the goods are transported to Crown Falls through the use of trade routes. So it feeds every end-of-the-line product straight to Crown Falls, apart from oil, which it uses for industry and tractor barns. This island also has a smaller dockland than Crown Falls, but still incredibly useful to speed up the trade routes, as there are about 20 trade routes passing through Wolsven. I also made sure to implement silos for my animal farms to ensure that the efficiency was as high as possible. Caresse Bromage, again, don't ask me why these are names of islands, is a completely barren island that feeds its resources to Wolsven. Steepton is exactly the same as Caresse Bromage, but add oil as a resource that is being fed to Wolsven on top of that. Fluffy Strup, again, the weird name of islands, is the island I bought from one of the AI. I wanted to coal on this island, but found another solution, so there's literally nothing here, not even an airship platform. Moving on to the Arctic. King William Island is my main island in the Arctic. I have technicians on the island, which is the highest level for Arctic people, but I am far from fulfilling their needs. The Arctic was the more challenging area that I had to deal with. That being said, I barely touched Ambessa, so that might change once I spend more time in Ambessa. Right now, this island just tries to self-regulate as much as possible. It doesn't do much else and doesn't link up too much with islands outside of the Arctic sector. Upaluk is a resource feeder island for King William Island and Fort Snowshoe, an island I will talk about right after this one. There are few people here, but just enough to run the industries I need. Fort Snowshoe has a decent sized city, but is mainly a gas producer, which I do not have a use for yet, but I will most likely start using the gas in the New World. And finally, Ambessa. Taborime is the main island in this sector. As I stated before, I barely touched Ambessa, so there's not much here, and I plan to focus on it more in the future. I have 4 more islands in this sector, and you're gonna laugh at their names, but they've all been acquired during the war, so they are all completely barren. The names of the islands are River of Stars, Yellow Spring, Reverent Shelter, and Auspicious Isle. Again, I did not choose the name of these islands, but I still think they're very funny. These are all the islands that I have so far. The plan is to keep this game going and make more videos like this one if this video does well, because there's still so many things I must do and discover. I barely played around with haciendas, I didn't even play around with tourists at all, I didn't do skyscrapers either, and there's much more that I haven't even touched yet. So if this video does well, then there will definitely be more. I have a blast playing Anno 1800. I knew I liked the game, but I never really had the patience to spend a lot of time trying to improve the efficiency and see what the game had to offer beyond 20 to 30 hours of gameplay. But I feel really motivated to continue, and I think that this is because I managed to really focus on Crown Falls so far and let other distractions to the side, so I will try to keep this going and hopefully discover all of the features that have been added through DLCs, because I know there are a lot. I like giving myself little objectives such as making something as efficient as possible, which makes the game more enjoyable for me, and I hope I can make more videos for you guys on this game. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, it really helps. And on this note, I will see you guys later. Bye bye.